Hey guys, it's Gezarice, and welcome to the Weekly Grain. I know it's been over 7 months since I last uploaded on the main channel, and I am sorry about that. There's just been a lot of serious stuff on my mind that's kept me distracted from editing my usual goofy content. And honestly, those distractions are the only reason I created this channel. I'm hoping that by making videos where I talk about these topics and share my thoughts on them, I'll finally be able to get them out of my head instead of letting them hold me back. And the first topic I wanted to talk about is religion, specifically the Catholic Church, and why I'm no longer a part of it. Like most members of the church, I was raised Catholic by parents who, to my knowledge, never studied the Bible or faith thoroughly. It wasn't until I got to high school that I really started questioning whether I believed any of it, and eventually I came to the conclusion that I wasn't Catholic. So I guess the next question is, why did I stop believing? There are a lot of reasons why I stopped believing, but the main one is the very thing the church is founded on: faith and belief. The message throughout the Bible is that if we believe in God and worship Him, then we will have eternal life, and John 3:16, the most famous Bible verse, says exactly that. But is belief something you can control? Imagine someone standing on solid ground trying to convince themselves they're floating in air. They can say it out loud, repeat it in their head, and even want it to be true, but deep down they still know their feet are on the floor. You can pretend to believe something, but you can't force genuine belief into existence. In the same way, you can't simply choose to believe in God just because someone tells you to. Real belief comes from being genuinely convinced, and if that conviction isn't there, no amount of forcing it will make it suddenly real. Real belief comes from being genuinely convinced, and if that conviction isn't there, no amount of forcing it will suddenly make it real. This brings me to my next topic: free will. One of God's greatest gifts to mankind, right alongside life itself. But is it even real? Or are our actions determined by our environment, our experiences, and the chemical processes in our brains rather than fully independent choices? We're told that humans misuse this gift, just as Adam and Eve did, and just as Satan and the fallen angels did. We choose sin time and time again, even when we know what we're doing is wrong. But our situation is nothing like theirs. Adam and Eve didn't have to convince themselves of something they couldn't perceive, the way someone might try to convince themselves they're flying while standing on solid ground. They personally knew God. They knew He created them, spoke to them, and loved them, and they still chose to disobey Him. Or did they really choose at all? If God is all knowing, then He already knew they would betray Him before He ever created them. Not only that, but He also created the very circumstances and influences that led to the decision. And if God is all knowing, then He also knows that given the circumstances He has placed me in, I have no way of convincing myself of His existence, and yet under that same framework, He would still allow me at the time of my death to descend into hell. If I were to end up in hell for something I cannot choose, then it raises a serious question about whether the God described in the Bible can truly be considered loving. I did not choose to be created. I did not choose the conditions I was born into, and I do not choose what I am convinced of or what I believe to be true. From this perspective, belief itself is not a decision, but a result of factors I do not control. Yet it is treated as the deciding factor for an internal outcome. When faith is viewed this way, it becomes difficult to ignore the role fear plays in it. For many people, belief in God is not rooted in certainty or direct understanding, but in the fear of death and the possibility of punishment after it. That seems counterintuitive to the idea of a loving relationship between God and humanity. If love is the goal, then it is hard to reconcile why it would be tied to something so high stakes and uncertain. It also raises a difficult question. Why would I be expected to love a being who gives me a limited, unknown amount of time to become convinced of something that determines my eternal fate, especially when that conviction itself may not be something I can consciously choose? I also want to be clear that I respect religious people, especially the ones in my life. My girlfriend is religious, and I see how genuine her faith is to her. I just can't find myself convinced in the same way. If belief were something I could choose, I don't think I'd hesitate. But it doesn't feel like a choice, and I don't find the arguments or evidence convincing enough for me personally. Thank you for watching. I plan to post more on this channel, and the reason I posted this video is just because people are always asking me at school why I'm not religious, and it's kind of hard to explain it when it catches you by surprise, but yeah. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon, probably not. Bye. Oh.